Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be giving you my Aquarius February 2022 horoscope forecast. And yes, it does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, first up is the Sun will be in Aquarius as far as February goes, from the 1st until the 18th. So the first house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, well, for Aquarius, you may have an abundance and surfeit of energy at this time. It maybe also too there could be a strong focus and attention on new beginnings. They could be something Aquarius related, such as something with computers or electronics or astrology, astronomy, innovation, as some examples. And it could also be too, remember that the Sun is connected with the biological father and children. So these people and children, if applicable, maybe more I think more prominently could be new beginnings. Maybe your energy vitality level to some degree, maybe there might be draining it to some degree at this time. It could also be your could be factoring in your outlook. Could also be, the time. The Sun is also about shining the light. This might shine the light, perhaps put more attention. It could be on a grandparent. It could be someone prominent in your early childhood. It could be somebody that's an Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant person, or one that simply embodies those characteristics. And anyway, that's just a lot of focus on the self at this time, and your own, who you actually are, your Aquarius characteristics, such as being, you know, altruistic, selfless, considerate, even innovative. Some examples. Now, the Sun will be in Pisces as far as February goes, from the 18th until the 28th. So the second house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. But at this time, Aquarius, there could be strong focus and attention on your possessions, your resources. Um, it could be on monetary matters. It may be a time where maybe something with your monetary situation maybe nebulous or unclear. It could be a focus on a unclear monetary situation, or it might even be having drive and motivation toward doing something Pisces related in terms of making money, such as something with the metaphysical, which includes astrology or poetry, dancing, photography, anesthesiology, maybe even fantasy or fiction writing. As some examples, could be fantasy game production as an isolated example. And in some cases, it might shine the light, so to speak, on a Piscean possession. It could be something with photography, such as like a camera, whether it's an actual video camera, or it's one that just takes basic pictures of others. And it could also be a time too where there might be a focus, maybe on some, could be some dissolving of the self-worth, or maybe not understanding. Maybe there's confusion in matters pertaining to self-worth and self-esteem and how you feel about yourself, such as not maybe understanding, maybe as to what actually is tied in to greater self-worth for yourself, as an example, or maybe deluding yourself into thinking that your self-worth is actually better than it actually, it's at a higher level than it actually is. Could be self-deception in those matters, but also too, this could shine the light, so to speak, on Piscean latent talents and abilities. And it could be such as, maybe it's something with photography or chemistry or poetry, dancing. Some examples even doing something with the metaphysical, which includes astrology. Now, another thing that's up is that you're going to have a new moon in Aquarius on February 1st. So the first house will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, Aquarius, well, you're talking about new moon is connected with new beginnings. First house is new beginnings. So this could be a time where you could have a surf fight, an abundance of energy. in new beginnings. It could be something Aquarius related, doing something with computers, electronics, astrology, innovation, aviation, meteorology. It may even be the beginning of even expressing, emphasizing, just general Aquarian traits, uh, being selfless, altruistic, considerate, um, you know, uh, innovative, non-conforming even. Um, it's also a time too where it might be the start of even expressing more altruism or selflessness with a grandparent or someone that was prominent in your early childhood, uh, and it may even be the start of even more of an eclectic appearance than you ordinarily have at this time, Aquarius. And you're doing something unique with as far as what you look like and how you appear to others. It could be doing something with the physical body, maybe making improvements. It might be using high tech, like weightlifting equipment, uh, you know, something computerized or electronic, as an example, as far as weightlifting equipment goes. Um, and the thing, next thing up, I want to talk about full moon in Leo on February 16th. So the seventh house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Aquarius. So at this time, well, in some cases, it might be a time, Aquarius, where you become very tired, exasperated, or simply full. It could be of a bombastic, arrogant, domineering, significant other. Maybe there's something that comes up at this time, Aquarius, where it may be um, basically being more cognizant. Maybe it's a revelation or unveiling of an open adversary that might be a Leo, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant person, or simply one that embodies Leo characteristics. It may be a time too where in some cases this could be the ending or completion or culmination of a Leo, like could be a business partnership, such as something that involves children or cardiology, or it could even be something with creativity or sports or entertainment, amusement of some kind, something with the theater as some examples. And it's also a time where maybe something comes out where you're making more of a discovery or an unveiling of a maybe a significant other, could be someone in a business partnership, something where where that person maybe you're discovering is more gregarious or extroverted than you ordinarily, that you had realized. Um, it could be the end of some, seventh house is also negotiations. It might be the end of some very generous negotiations. Being in Leo, maybe there was a lot of Leo ferocity expressed in it. Now the next thing up. Well, Mercury is going to be in Capricorn as far as February goes, from the 1st until the 14th. So the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now at this time, Aquarius could manifest in a lot of introspective thinking. Maybe there's at this time, keeping a lot of these thoughts to yourself. Um, it can be a time where maybe your communications, and not only given the fact that Mercury's in Capricorn, the sign of limitations and restrictions, coupled with the fact that you're talking about the 12th house, which is also associated with limitations and restrictions. So you might find at this time, Aquarius, that your communications may be more limited and restricted at this time, more so than usual. It could be a time where your thinking's a little bit more negative or pessimistic, or it might be something where you're basically, that's how it, and also too, it might be tied in, in private, basically in private, as far as your thing, as far as the thoughts may go. At this time, it could be maybe if you're trying to do something and helping someone less fortunate than yourself, maybe your thinking's a little bit more negative or pessimistic in regards to what you can do. And it can be a time where you might be, again, it's a lot of thinking that's going on in private, behind closed doors. Some cases it could be Mercury is also connected with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, and it could be Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or ones that simply embody Capricorn traits. Maybe a hidden, could be a hidden adversary in some cases. One or more of those people could be. Also, too, we're overly keep in mind that thinking too negatively might be the self-undoing as well at this time, Aquarius. So hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now Mercury will be in Aquarius as far as February goes, from the 14th until the 28th. So the first house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Well, Aquarius, you might find yourself talking more about yourself at this point in time. Maybe your Aquarius traits, being humanitarian or selfless or altruistic, considerate, even innovative, unorthodox as some examples. It might be a time where you're just coming across as more loquacious, more voluble at this time, more so than usual. It also could reflect that siblings, cousins, and neighbors may be having more of an impact or more instrumental, in your new beginnings, at this time. And it could be something associated with Aquarius, such as computers, electronics, astronomy, aviation, meteorology, as some examples. And this is a time where you are, at a point where, of course, naturally you could be more talkative and loquacious, more so than usual at this time. And if you have, anything innovative, ingenious ideas, they may be brought out, at this point in time. And people could see that you could be, innovative thinker on a first impression at the time of this transit. Now, another thing too is that next thing, Venus will be in Capricorn for the entirety of February 2022. So the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, at this time, Aquarius, in some cases, this could be some limitations in your love and your relationships. You have Venus in Capricorn, the sign of limitations and restrictions. The 12th house is connected with limitations and restrictions as well. It could be that a lover or a significant friendship may be seeking more solitude and seclusion at this point in time. Maybe there's some kind of love that's causing maybe some depression or despondency. And it's connected with your secret sorrows. It's something that you don't want, to be brought out. Now, in some cases, this can also indicate clandestine relationships, because Venus is in, you're talking about Venus, and then the 12th house is is connected with clandestine interludes, and it can be a time just to be careful at this time, Aquarius. It's not something you probably, most people generally don't want to, really don't need to be getting involved in that if that is the case. But this can be very isolated, of course, and it can also be there may be some monetary restrictions and limitations. Maybe you're waiting on, it could be money from the government in some cases where it's where it's maybe delayed. It can also be where you're valuing more consistent privacy at this point in time, more so than usual. You might also be making money doing something Capricorn related in solitude and seclusion. It might be something government related or with politics, or something with accounting, where you're just basically working, pretty much in isolation and seclusion at this point in time. And it's also valuing your privacy more so than usual as well at this time, Aquarius. So anyway, now next up, well, Mars is going to be in Capricorn for the entire month of February 2022. So the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, it could be where there might be some, arguments, over responsibilities and career and ambitions. It could be behind closed doors. You might find at this time where your energy level, your vitality might be limited at this time, which could, modify what I was stating before about the sun an Aquarius in the first house being emphasized and highlighted. It can also be a time where there might be arguments, or the situation with an aunt or uncle may be more contentious than usual at this point in time. And you might expend a lot of energy now, more in private. And it's very, it might be energy where you have, it's very, consistent, regimented, well thought, planned out, doing such and such at a certain time, doing this at a certain time, as somebody as an example. And also too, remember that Mars is also connected with injuries, and there could be, in the 12th house is the house of hospitalization, so there can be a greater propensity for having some kind of injury with the knees, the bones, the joints, the hamstrings at this time, more so than usual, which might require some kind of hospitalization in some cases. It could also be a time where you have more courage, maybe standing up for those that are less fortunate, or the passive or the weak at this point in time, more so than usual, Aquarius. So in giving, and also really at this time, um, Mars, being in Capricorn, it's very disciplined, structured, consistent energy, and this could be something that you're using, to do things more in private, or it could be something connected with the metaphysical, which includes astrology or poetry or dancing, photography, because those would all be 12th house professions. Anyway, well, the next thing up is Jupiter will be in Pisces for the entirety of February 2022. So the second house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, Aquarius, well, first off, it could be very, could be fortuitous and auspicious for monetary matters. It could be doing something, with poetry, dancing, photography, the metaphysical, which includes astrology or anesthesiology, as some examples. It could also be, a time too where it might be very prosperous as far as matters with money at this time. And it also can, in some cases though, keep in mind that Jupiter, as I've stated in previous videos, is very paradoxical, can be very strongly benign and benevolent, but could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. It may enlarge and expand. It could be the dissolving or dissipation of one's self-worth or self-esteem, or even deception in monetary matters. Keep in mind at this time, Aquarius, be very careful in your financial dealings at this time, because you're also going to have Neptune and Pisces as well, in the second house being emphasized and highlighted. So it can be a time where it can enlarge, maybe the deception, duplicity in monetary matters. If you're signing, just make sure you're seeing all the fine print in financial matters at this point in time. But it could also be a time where it could be very propitious for, could be Piscean related latent talents and abilities, such as, again, doing something with poetry or dancing or photography. It could be working, with special effects or illusions, such as being a magician, or doing something with the metaphysical, which includes astrology or even the paranormal. Well, anyway, next thing up is Saturn will still be in Aquarius. So the first house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, Aquarius, well, it can be a time, Saturn, when you're talking about the first house, it could be more of a proclivity to be losing weight at this time, more so than usual. You might come across more as more serious at this time, more stern as far as how you're appearing to others. It can be a time too where it might be more, Saturn, keep in mind, is connected with chronic illnesses. So there's a little greater propensity for having some problems with physically, with the ankles, the shins, the ankles, the shins, calves, lower legs, nerves, circulation, as some examples. And it may be a time too where the father might play more of an integral role in new beginnings for you at this time. The father could be Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant person, or simply one that embodies Aquarian traits, or maybe there's more work involved. You're working laboriously in connection with new beginnings that could be Aquarius related, such as something with computers or electronics, meteorology, aviation, altruism, um, as astrology, as some examples. Hold on a moment, people. And there just might be some more limitations and restrictions with your vitality and energy at this time, Aquarius. And there may be more responsibilities, to a grandparent or someone from your early childhood at this point in time. Now, next up, well, Uranus will be in Taurus for the entirety of February 2022. So at this time, Aquarius, the fourth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, first off, this may indicate instability in the home life. Maybe you experience disruptions in the home life, or even your emotional security, your safety at this time. Maybe there's more crime in your area, as an example, which might negatively impact the safety and security issues. And Uranus is connected with disruptions. Fourth house is about safety and security. You might feel at this time, the fourth house is also associated with emotions, so the emotions may be more erratic and sporadic at this point in time. But at the same time, Uranus is connected with friendships, and being in Taurus, it could be ones that are very stable, loyal, steadfast, persistent, stolid. These people might be figuring more prominently in your home life, and maybe even getting helping you plan for the latter part of life if you are not currently in it at this time, or even helping you out in issues with safety and security at this point in time. And it can also be a time too where you may be doing something Uranus related out of the home. It could be doing some astrology or computers or electronics. Maybe something that you're doing with a lot of persistence and loyalty during this time. And could also be a time too, you're talking about Uranus and the fourth house being emphasized and highlighted. It's that a time as well that maybe could be home family members, the less dominant parent, which is often the mother, may be acting more unpredictably at this time, or maybe acting in some bizarre manner or unpredictable manner at this point in time, and you're seeing that kind of behavior more so than usual at this time. Now, the next thing up, well, Neptune will be in Pisces for the entirety of February 2022, so the second house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, one way this may manifest, it could be at this time, of course, where something with your finances, maybe there's a picture that's very nebulous or unclear. It could be the dissolving or dissipation of one's self-worth or self-esteem, or how one feels about oneself. There may be an interest in doing something Neptune, Pisces related as far as making money goes. Could be doing something with poetry, dancing, metaphysical, which includes astrology or anesthesiology, special effects, illusion, working in chemistry, as some examples. And could also be a time too where Neptune is also about sacrifice. You might find yourself at this time sacrificing more of your money, your possessions at this time, more so than usual. And Neptune / Pisces related things may be things you strongly value more so at this time, more so than usual. Could be expressing altruism, compassion, sacrifice, forgiveness, surrendering. When I say surrender, I don't mean like literally like surrendering to the police. I mean like surrendering, sometimes maybe just giving in. And if there's an argument or something, or in a contentious situation with someone, basically giving and saying, okay, I'm going to let I'm going to be the better person basically, walk away or whatever it might be. That's what I'm saying. Saying, apologizing, whatever it is you got to do. Um, and the next thing I want to talk about, last but not least, Pluto will be in Capricorn for the entire month of February 2022. So the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now at this time, Aquarius, you might be something with power and control in general in your life. You might feel is restricted or limited at this point in time. Some cases this could manifest in like I call it nukemares. Pluto is associated with what's nuclear. The 12th house is associated with dreams. It can be a time too where you may experience the death of an aunt or uncle during this time. It may also be a time too where there may be Plutonian people that are actually hidden adversaries. It could be somebody or in the occult, which includes astrology, or somebody in forensics, investigation, someone in recycling, or working in a death profession such as a mortician or a coroner, or somebody in embalming as some examples. And also too, it could also be being overly controlling in a situation, maybe the self-undoing at this time is a way that this could manifest and pan out, and it might also be a transformation that of a spiritual nature could take place at this time, or maybe you're doing something where you're undergoing a transformation in solitude or in seclusion, which would in a very private manner, where maybe you're not talking a lot about it, whether it's something where you're becoming, trying to physically transform yourself or what have you. It can also be a time too, Aquarius, where you might feel at this time as well, keep in mind Pluto is associated with trauma and surgery. Capricorn is associated with the knees, the bones, the joints, the hamstrings, the gallbladder. There may be surgery on one or more of these body parts anatomically connected with Capricorn at this time, because the 12th house is the house of hospitalization. And when you have this transit, it can be a time where you might be, it might be a surgical procedure, and of course being in a hospital while doing so. Pluto is also, remember, is also connected with obsession and compulsiveness. It could be something where being overly obsessive or fixated on something can be the self-undoing at this point in time. If you've experienced a death, it may be associated with more secret sorrows and something that you're not really perhaps willing to talk about with others. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.